Hey everyone, before we start the video, I just want to let everyone know first that this video can be a bit long and draggy for the first 5 minutes or so. Well, that's because I really wanted to go through with as much detail as possible while at the same time showing you guys some in-game footage while I'm explaining the mechanics of the Lufenia Orbs. So this video really took me quite a while to write and edit, and I would really encourage everyone, especially the newer players, to watch the whole entire video, and I promise you guys that you're gonna be able to learn a thing or two, or three, or four, or also, in this video, I'll be giving a shout out to some players in this great community, and spoilers, if you have already read the description box below, then you would probably already know who I'm giving a shout out to. So with that, let's proceed on to the video. Enjoy! What are Lufenia Orbs, HP threshold, and Brave gain reduction? How tough will the Lufenia era be? Well, I'm gonna be going through all of that in this video, so let's go! Hey everyone, this is VL. Today's video will mainly be targeted to the global players, since the Lufenia era will be arriving in the global server soon. So I will be going through with as much detail as I can, explaining what are Lufenia Orbs and how do we counteract them, HP threshold, which isn't really an official term, it's just a term that I will be using it in this video. Basically, in short, HP threshold means how the bosses will respond or activate certain of the gimmicks when they've reached a certain percentage of their HP threshold, which probably isn't something new, but I'm still gonna run through it with you guys anyway. And Brave gain reduction, or also known as Brave battery reduction. So, having been dealt with the Lufenia difficulty in JP for about 9 or 10 months, give or take, I want to give some of my personal thoughts and insight about the Lufenia era, and also things that you should look out for and what kind of units you should bring for this new difficulty level. And at the later end of this video, I will showcase some short clips of the first few Lufenia fights you guys will be dealing with first, just to give you guys a heads up on what to look out for. Lastly, timestamps will be in the description box below if you would like to jump to the certain ones you want to know more about. So let's start off by talking about the Lufenia Orbs first. So what are Lufenia Orbs and how do we counteract them? Well, let's learn how to read the Lufenia Orb condition first in the enemy info graph. And do take note that the version I'm showing you guys now is the JP footage, but I will give you guys a rough translation on what it means, since the condition will be the same for both the JP server and global server. So the footage you're looking at is the first Lufenia fight you all will be dealing with, done at Arc 2 Final Chapter Part 2. Let's go through the Lufenia condition. Over here it means appear condition, and what it means is that the Lufenia Orb only appears after the boss has done its full recast skill, as shown over here in the footage. So let's zoom in and take a closer look. As you can see, the orb has just appeared. And here it states how and when the Lufenia Orb will disappear. So the condition for it to disappear is to have the boss do another full recast skill again, like so in the video. So let's zoom in again, and as you can see, the orb disappeared. Here it states how to freeze the orb, meaning how to prevent the orb count from decreasing. So to do that, you will need to prevent the boss from gaining more than 25,000 brave. Here it means that the orb will decrease by 1 if the player commits a turn. So here's an example of me taking a turn. And as you can see, the orb count has decreased by 1. And lastly over here, it means that the orb will decrease by 2 if the enemy itself commits a turn. So the only way to counteract this particular Lufenia Orb is, you guess it, is to freeze the orb. And the way to freeze it is to make sure the enemy's brave stays below 25,000 as shown in the Lufenia condition here. Now every Lufenia fight has different conditions, so it is really important for you to read the condition first before diving into the fight. Here's a Lufenia run done at Ultimate Bahamut. Some fights will require you to increase the orb count instead of freezing it. This is one of the fights where you need to increase the orb count. Now, let me dive in deeper and talk about this particular Lufenia condition. So, things to really look out for when increasing the orb, and this is quite important. So take note that when increasing the orb count, always remember that despite the condition states that the Lufenia orb count increases by 1, you should really be thinking of it as only really increasing it by 0.
What?
Well, let me explain. Because you need to remember that you are also committing a turn to increase those orb count. So here's a simple graph for a clearer picture. Say a unit makes a move and at the same time is hitting the Lufenia condition to increase the orb. So here it adds 1 count into the orb for hitting the Lufenia condition. Then it will decrease the count by 1 since you've made a move, therefore making it a 0 additional count. Yeah, in other words, you're just maintaining the orb count from reducing it to 0 for this particular fight. And yeah, I know it sounds obvious, but still, it's always good to point it out in case a player miscalculate the orb count. Well, like me for example. Yeah, so do keep that in mind. Alright, one more example. This is a fight done at 8's Lost Chapter. So the way to increase the orb count is to deal a counter attack, meaning you will need to let the enemy make a move so that you can trigger a counter attack, like so in the video. So as you can see, every Lufenia fight has a different set of conditions for you to manage, be it freezing of orb, increasing of orb count, or sometimes you're just gonna have to DPS through it. So that is more or less how you deal with Lufenia orbs. But in the later part of the Lufenia era, not only will you need to monitor the Lufenia orb count, but also the HP threshold as well, which is what we will be diving in next. So moving on to the topic about HP threshold, this will be a short explanation. Short, but still important to note. So earlier I stated that you will need to monitor the HP threshold. What I mean by that is, when the enemy reaches a certain health percentage, they will self-increase stats just to make things difficult for you. Now, increasing the stats when hitting certain percentages of HP threshold is not uncommon even during the Chaos era. But this time around, enemies will also add on certain kinds of gimmicks at certain percentages of HP threshold. Again, this isn't uncommon during the Chaos era, but it becomes incredibly more prominent in the Lufenia era. Let's take a look at this cancerous fight which takes place at Ciaran's last chapter. As you can see, the bears cleanse their own debuff at 79% of health and at 59% of health and at 29% of. Here's another one. The Medusa fight at Arc 3 Chapter 1 Part 1. The Medusa cleanse themselves at 79% health, gives themselves shield at 69% health, cleanse themselves again at 49% health, gives themselves shield again at 29% health. So for global players, this is especially tricky because you guys aren't able to look at the health percentage of the enemy. Well, for the recording date for this video at least. Hopefully the global players will get this really important quality of life soon. Moreover, this Medusa fight has one of the most annoying things we have to deal with: the Brave Gain reduction. So, Brave Gain reduction, the final point of this video. But first, a disclaimer first. I don't really exactly remember when was Brave Gain reduction introduced. All I remember was that Brave Gain reduction appeared right around the mid of Lufenia. But the most prominent event I remembered was the freaking Medusa fight. Just look at that. Just look at how much Terra is gaining Brave from her skill. Now, there is no way to counteract Brave Gain reduction. But that doesn't mean that we should stop bringing units that serve as a Brave battery role. They do still help a bunch, since most battery units are support units, and bringing a support unit is still incredibly crucial for Lufenia fights. More so for this Medusa fight, since you are gonna need all the help you can get, despite the pathetic amount of Brave battery you get. So although Brave Gain reduction didn't appear in the early Lufenia era, still I think it's good to give you guys some heads up on what's to come in the near future. I mean, Brave damage reduction was a thing right around when Ultimate Alexander was introduced. We're still able to get around it by bringing support units like Elements, Enchanter, and Imperilers. Well, then again, Element Imperil immunity seems to be becoming a thing now in the JP server. What if HP damage reduction becomes a thing? No! Okay, I should stop giving Square Enix any unnecessary ideas. So there you have it. One final note about the Lufenia era. As you might have guessed or suspected it, yeah, you most likely am gonna need to invest more characters to counteract the Lufenia ops, because as mentioned earlier, every Lufenia fight has a different set of Lufenia conditions to increase the op count, and you will need to have a diverse enough amount of units to counteract this fight. Here's some of my run of some early few Lufenia fights, just to give you guys a clearer picture on how to counteract the Lufenia op. Here's Gao's last chapter. To increase the Lufenia Orb, you will need to deal an earth element damage to increase the count by 2. Or a counter attack works. As you can see, the counter went up by 1. And another one because of 8's follow-up counter attack. Next, kam'lanaut. To increase the Lufenia Orb, you will need to let the enemy have a turn while they are paralyzed. Next, for Kurasame's event, the Lufenia Orb freezes when you deal a ice damage. Xande's event. This Lufenia fight orb increases when you deal a dark element attack. Now, if you'd like to have a complete list of upcoming future Lufenia fights, then I would highly recommend checking out the Tonberry Troupe's website, where they have a section that lists down a full list of upcoming Lufenia fights that you guys will be facing. Now, what I like about this website is that they've even listed down the boss gimmick at certain HP threshold, things to look out for, and recommended units for every fight as well. I'll put a link in the description box below for you guys to check out. So that was a quick look at some of the future fights. And yeah, having a diverse roster is gonna be crucial. But if you would like to know more about the importance of diverse roster and how to look at different units that act as the same role but at the same time serves a different purpose for the team, do check out Black Cloud's video, aka Black Nero, where he talked about the differences between 9 and Warrior of Light. Alright, to close things out, honestly, as scary as it sounds, despite all of the things I've mentioned to look out for, or if I sounded sort of pessimistic, which I do apologize for that, the Lufenia difficulty isn't that much big of an obstacle as compared to when Chaos was first dropped in both JP and global server. In fact, I would say that the Lufenia difficulty is way more fun as compared to when Chaos dropped. Because by now, if you're someone who is extremely committed in wanting to clear all of the endgame content, I would assume that you already have invested in quite a diverse amount of units. And this diverse amount of units you've invested will one day be needed in some form of way or other in some Lufenia fights. But for players who hasn't really or wanting to expand your roster but still is extremely committed in wanting to clear all endgame content, then by now you should already know and understand the importance of having a diverse roster after watching this video. Of course, I'm not here to tell everyone what they should or should not do to enjoy the game, because at the end of the day, you should enjoy this game however you want it to. So in a nutshell for Lufenia fights, as long as you understand the mechanics and know what to do to counteract them, then you'll be fine. I mean, for us JP players, we're deep into the Lufenia era for many months now, and we're still managing pretty well. Alright, so that about sums it up. I know there are some things that I didn't cover while we're at the topic about deep down into the Lufenia era, like bosses that are immune to element peril, delays, launches, etc, etc. But trust me, despite all of this gimmick thrown to us, we will, for sure, still be able to find ways to beat them. Alright, hope you guys managed to learn a thing or two. Like this video if you enjoyed it, dislike it if not, and I'll see you guys on the next video. Bye bye!